is Jake, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I want to share with you how I went from a net worth of $0 in 2013 to a net worth of around $2 million here in 2022, 2023, and beyond. The reason why I'm creating this video is to help hopefully inspire somebody out there that's maybe thinking that this is impossible, that you may have heard about the FIRE movement and that you got really excited and then you realized, well, I'm just a normal person making, working a 9 to 5. How am I ever going to accomplish this? And my goal for this video is to help you understand the realities of maybe some of the sacrifices that you have to make in order to accomplish something like this. Because when I first started down this path of trying to pursue FIRE, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was just kind of looking at like, I am never going to be able to get there, or it's going to take me years and years and years. Well, fast forward years and years and years, it did take me quite a few years. And looking back, I think back, the days were really long, but the years were so short. And I'm going to share with you, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to show you, I put together a spreadsheet. I'm going to walk you through how I did it year by year and some of the things that you should probably look out for if you're in a similar situation, you're trying to achieve financial independence. I'm going to walk you through how my wife and I did it. And if this is the very first video that you're watching on my channel, once again, my name is Jake. I reached Barista FIRE at the age of 37 last year. Barista FIRE is where you're living off of your portfolio or your investments and also working part-time on the side to, fill the gap that you need in, your expenses and all that good stuff. So I've been retired from my 9 to 5 job for the last year. I make YouTube videos. I have a weird, quirky sense of humor. I'm a pretty big nerd. And I just want to say that, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I don't have all the answers. And I can guarantee you, if you're new to this and if you're trying to kind of see what I'm doing and see if it makes sense for you, I want you to understand that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall on your face, and that's okay. What really matters is that you get back up and that you keep going, because you are going to fail, and you failing, it might look a little like this.
Like, you can't even cut it. Look, watch. I think I failed.
Oh my gosh, the dog at the end. Oh, it kills me. Oh my gosh. All right, cool. So here, really quick, I wanted to show you this. So this is my net worth. I believe as it stands today, I think everything is updated for the most part. It's a little off. But my net worth is right around $2 million. And my net worth has not changed this last year since I reached FIRE. If you're new to this and you're using spreadsheets, I'd recommend, looking at a site like this. You can do it yourself in Excel, or you can use free ones out there. This one is completely free. I don't pay for any. I don't recommend paying for it. But this is one that I use. It's cool because you can see, you can kind of make it a little bit more tangible, and your net worth is nothing more than your assets minus your liabilities. And so, for example, if you have a house, that you take the value of the house minus the liability or the mortgage, and that is what is called your net worth. So yeah, I encourage you to track your net worth. I use this site. It's okay. It's not the best. It's fine. It does the job. I'll leave a link in the description below. If you want to sign up, it doesn't cost anything. It is an affiliate link. If you sign up, I do benefit from it. If you don't want to use this one, I just definitely encourage you, use a tool that you can track your net worth. So here, really quick, before I dive in and show you the numbers, this is from the Social Security site from the government. You can actually log in with you can set up an account and you can log in and see how many years you paid Social Security, and you can see how much your wages were. This is not, if you're filing jointly, this is not your tax return. This is just your W-2 income that you paid Social Security, and you can see how many years you've paid into the system. And spoiler, if you're thinking about retiring early, I would have on your mind that you're going to need 10 years of employment to be able to qualify for maximum Social Security benefits. That is, if it's still there. We'll see how that goes. It depends on how much more spending goes on in the government. That's what you're looking at here. And I want to show you that I really started with a net worth of zero. But my first official job was working at a donut shop, making $5.15 an hour. And that was back in 2003. I was 16 years old and I made a whopping $2,000. That's how much I made for that entire year working at a donut shop, making $5.15 an hour. But then, 17, 18, you can see how, right before I went to Germany to do my master's, I was working while going to college. I never made over $15,000 in a single year. While going to college and working and going to school. I went to Germany in 2010. I think I was like 26 years old, something like that, somewhere around there, 25, 26. I didn't make a lot of money before I went to Germany. And so my net worth, thankfully, I didn't have any student loan debt, but I started essentially from zero. All right, now what I want to do is I want to walk you through year by year how my net worth changed, or more so, focusing on my wages and how my wages contributed to, where I'm at today, right? So I said in 2013, I effectively had a net worth of about zero. I didn't have a car. I was living in Germany. I was renting. I maybe owned my bed and my couch. And I maybe had like $6,000 in a Roth IRA from the previous years of working when I was in the US. So like literally almost zero. Okay. And in 2013, I think I was like 27 years old. And my first job out of college, I completed a master's degree in Germany. I did my bachelor's in the US, hugely advantageous because I basically got to do my master's for free. So I didn't have any student debt. So my net worth was zero, but I didn't have any debt. Okay. So my first job out of college, I was working as a sales rep. I was making 40,000 euros, or it's dollars, because my expenses were in euros. To keep it simple, $40,000. Okay. So I made $40,000, and it was, I think I bought a new computer. I bought, a desk, a monitor, didn't really know what I was doing. I bought, I think, a projector because I love watching movies and, nerding out on Game of Thrones or something, Breaking Bad, something that was out. And so I was absolutely, my first year, I pretty much spent most of the money I made. I think I invested around 10% of what I made. At the end of 2013, when I'm looking back at this, first job out of college, first year, after that first year, I probably had, because I don't have all the numbers, I probably had between around $10,000 to $15,000 at the end of that first year. And that's how I got started. $10,000 to $15,000 10 years ago. And then my second year in 2014, I ended up changing jobs. This is fundamental to my whole process of increasing my net worth, was how often I changed jobs. There's a pros and cons with this, but I changed jobs and I immediately got a pay increase. So I changed my first job of making $40,000 to $65,000. Plus, I also got stock options. So I was making about $80,000, or double what I was making the year before. But I hadn't quite yet found the FIRE movement. I wasn't really saving very much. And I was saving about 10% of my take-home pay, right? I was investing a little bit here and there, but not really a lot. During this time, I went and I traveled a lot. I went to Thailand. I went to different areas in Europe. I spent a lot more money. And you'll notice here, my savings rate at the beginning was not very high. I didn't really focus on investing. Had I invested more in the very beginning, it would have set me up for success later in life. But the one thing that I don't regret, and this is not the topic of today's video, but what I don't regret is going on vacation. I don't regret going to Egypt. I don't regret going to the Egyptian pyramids or to the Hurghada, going into the Red Sea and going snorkeling. I don't regret that. What I regret is not being a little bit more conscious of where I spent my money. That's what I regret. And so if you're in your early 20s, I highly encourage you, don't go full blown and just invest everything and live in poverty, still enjoy your younger years. That's something that you don't hear a lot of people talk about. But that's really, really important. I'm glad that I did that. And then in 2015, I was in the same job, same role. Nothing really changed, not much. And I got a small increase in my wages, a small like inflation adjusted raise, got more stock units. But what changed was I started to increase my savings rate. And what happened here was I was in a sales job. And if you know anything about sales, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. And I knew from a very early phase of my career that I was going to not be able to do what I was doing forever. And I remember thinking back, I still remember this moment, thinking to myself, my job is going to kill me. That the stress from my job was going to kill me. I still remember thinking that. And I'm so, so grateful. In that moment, I realized, oh crap, something's got to change, something's got to give. And so I started investing more. But I hadn't quite yet found the FIRE movement. Financial independence, retire early, Mr. Money Mustache, JL Collins, all that good stuff. I didn't really know about the FIRE movement at that time. Then in 2016, I got a promotion. I went from a sales rep to a manager. And so I got a good bump in my salary. I was then making with stock about $100,000 a year in 2016. And at this point, I was kind of just, relationships, world kind of happened. This is where, I just got promoted to a new job. I was in and out of a relationship with a girl, and it's just like, okay, well, shoot, what happens next? But nothing materially really changed in terms of my investing. It just, I was investing about a quarter of what I was making into the stock market. And that was about it. In 2017 was a big year for me. I ended up moving from Germany back to the United States. I got a manager job in the US. I moved to Denver. I got married. We discovered the FIRE movement in 2017, and we aggressively started, saving and investing a lot of our money. The majority of the money that I was saving here was more so just in index funds, not really, anything, specific to dividend investing. That didn't come until the next year. And in 2018, what happened was really did not get along with my boss. Did not like the working conditions. It was just a toxic environment, absolutely horrible. And so what happened is we ended up moving from Denver, and we moved from Denver down to Austin. It was the best decision that we ever made. And I started working in a large software company, and I was making good money. And we started investing more and more. Now, here is where I started looking into alternative ways to invest. In 2018, I was watching hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. That's when I was watching the Meet Kevins of the world, the Graham Steffens of the world, and I was consuming hours and hours of financial content, especially on investing and on real estate investing. And then in 2019, I bought my first rental and I bought my first home. In 2019, I pulled the trigger. We bought two houses in 2019. One of them we lived in, and then we later moved and then rented it out. But I say two rentals. Here we increased our savings rate. And my wife was working. My wife had a good job in 2019. I forgot to mention that as well. My wife got a job once we moved to Austin. My wife had a job in 2018 and on. So this does not include my wife's earnings as well, or her wages. But in 2019, this was the turning point. This is what changed everything. Was we went from watching videos on YouTube to actually acting on what I was learning. I learned about how to write my own lease. I learned how to be a property manager as a DIY real estate investor. I learned how to do like DIY. This was the year of DIY for me, where instead of trying to rely on someone else, I just rolled up my sleeves, and this was the year. This is the year that we invested into real estate. We took the leap of faith, and this was all while working full time. I started my YouTube channel in 2019. Okay. So 2019 was a big year. And the biggest thing was we were able to increase our savings rate. We increased our savings rate with our wages, our money that we were making from our W-2. That's what came, that we really like, that was a big part of it. But something that I forgot to mention that's not showing here is the money, the majority of the money that I was making here during this time, I ended up selling out of all of my stock positions, almost all of them, almost everything. And what I did was I put the down payment on 2 houses. I took all the money and I put down the money on 2 rental properties. One that we actually moved into and one that we bought as a rental property. We had to put like 25% down. I remember going to the bank and getting $90,000 for a down payment on a $300,000 house. And it was a big moment for me. But I would have never been able to do that if I hadn't at least set the foundation earlier on. Okay, so 2019 was the biggest year for us in that sense. 2020 came around. 2020 was a bumpy ride. I quit my job, got a new job, got a pay raise, more stock options, increased our savings rate. We were working from home, thank goodness. We cut back on our expenses with travel, with going into the office because of the whole thing that happened in 2020. And we bought another house. We moved out of the house from 2019. We stayed there for 2 years. And then at the end of 2020, we bought a new house at the very end of the year, and we turned the other one into a rental, bought our primary house where we're still at today. That house today, we got a great price. It was a new build, so we got the price from 2019. The builder took forever to build it. So we got 2019 pricing. As everybody knows, the housing market just exploded. And so we have massive equity. Now, could I do this all over again? Probably not. Was this lucky? Probably, absolutely. That's the reality of it. If you go 10 years, maybe one of those 10 years, you're going to get lucky. Who knows? But we were definitely lucky that we started investing into real estate a year before the pandemic. Now, we didn't get to take advantage of the bull market after the great financial crisis, but that's just how life works. Okay, so at this point, we have 3 houses, one that we're living in and 2 rentals. I was making good money. Unfortunately, the beginning of 2021, I was laid off from this job and had to find a new job. And so I got a new job, got a promotion at a new company as a director level. And this is where our income started to increase and our savings rate increased because our costs were really low. We ended up selling both of our rental properties and we sold them with an after-tax profit of $400,000. This, everybody, this is how I grew my net worth. It wasn't from investing into Bitcoin. That would have been much easier, stressful, but easier. But we invested into real estate. And from real estate, today we have equity in our primary house of $250,000. And the 2 rental properties that we sold, we netted after tax $400,000. But here's the cool thing. One of the rental properties, remember what I said? We lived in one of the rentals for 2 years. Guess what that means? We didn't have to pay any taxes. We had over a $200,000 gain. We paid 0 taxes on $200,000. That, everybody, is how you build wealth in America. Is you buy a home, you live in it for 2 years, and then you wait for a once-in-a-generation pandemic. The prices appreciate overnight, and then you sell it. That's how you do it, everybody. All joking aside, whether it happens in a year or 2 years or 10 years, this is how you build wealth in America for many people. Not everyone, and it also is region specific. If you're in New York or Chicago or somewhere, San Francisco, this may be out of reach. But for everyone else that's maybe in a lower cost of living area where the barrier to entry to buy a home is a little bit lower, this may be something to definitely take a look at. But without investing into real estate, we would not have been able to reach financial independence and retire early with Barista Fire like we did here last year. So hugely, like this was it, guys. Like this was the secret for us. It's not really a secret because I've talked openly about it, but like this is the way that we did it, real estate. So it's not some magic thing. We worked our butts off. We did it ourselves. We didn't have property managers, and it was a combination of investing into real estate, being lucky with the timing. I'm going to call it luck. I couldn't do this again if I wanted to. It was luck. It was a combination of working really hard and being lucky with real estate, as well as this. This is what we could control, and this had a material impact on it. Because if we didn't have this, I could have never invested into that rental property. So increasing our savings rate was the first thing that allowed us to be in the position to grow our net worth. If you're not increasing your savings rate, you will not grow your net worth in almost every case. So you really, really want to focus on what you can control, and what you can control is your savings rate. Okay, so that was 2021. I quit that job. It didn't work out for me, unfortunately. The pandemic was crazy, a huge roller coaster. Quit that job, and I got a new job. And I was making really, really good money. I didn't, unfortunately, stay long enough or be able to get the stock options. That was really, really unfortunate. Most people in tech, this is where they make their money. I wasn't very lucky with my stock options, as many people were the last 10 years. I just wasn't that lucky, unfortunately. Just didn't work out for me. But I made really, really good money in 2022. The beginning of 2023, like I've said in my videos, I got laid off. But before I was laid off, I was able to to stack away 80% of, combined with my wife, 80% of our take-home pay in 2022. So we had a massive increase in our savings rate, and that was a combination of our lower expenses. We had low expenses, and I made more money, right? So something's got to move. You either got to make more money, or you got to lower your expenses, or you got to do both. And so 2022, pretty calm year. We didn't make any really big investments. We actually backed out. We were under contract to buy another rental property, and we actually backed out. We backed out and did not end up buying it. And I'm looking at the price today. It's dropped about 50 grand. So I'm pretty glad that we backed out of that investment property. We were actually going to rent this house that we're out in now, rent it out, and then move into a new one. But it just didn't make any sense. So we didn't do that. Okay, so once again, the major takeaways here, to humanize this, to help you to kind of understand, if you're looking at this and watching this, how can this apply to you? Understand that you're not going to get rich overnight, right? I was a sales rep for 3 years, and then I finally got promoted. I worked in this manager role for 5 years to then get promoted. If you're 22 years old, 25 years old, I know this whole instant gratification thing is real, but just understand that things don't happen overnight. The things that I put into motion years ago, I had no idea would pay off many, many years later. So put yourself in the position to take advantage of an opportunity like we did, for example, in 2019, put yourself in the position to take advantage of something, whether that be now or 5 years into the future. Put yourself in the position to be lucky, is I guess what I'm saying. And work your butt off. I went to college for 6 years, got a bachelor's and a master's degree. And looking back, I don't know if college is kind of a scam. I mean, it all depends. That's a huge statement. College is a scam. Obviously, if you're going to be a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer or something, obviously that's going to hugely benefit you. You know how many times I referenced my college degree in my interviews over the last 10 years? Do you want to honestly know? Because I worked in sales, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer. I referenced my degree one time in one interview to get this job. One time, at least my master's degree, right? These jobs, they didn't even care. They didn't even ask if I had a degree, right? And now maybe that was unique to me. Maybe, I don't know. But just, I'm so grateful that I didn't have $70, $80, $100,000 in debt, before I even started. And if you do, hey, it is what it is, right? You roll with the punches. I guess what I'm saying is I went an unconventional route. I went to Germany to get free education, right? And I stayed in Germany. I worked. I loved Germany. I plan on going back. My wife is German, but you do what you can do, and you do the best that you can with the information that you have. Okay, so let's take a look at the numbers here and see how this all pans out. So the earnings pre-tax over my career over the last 10 years was about $1.2 million, 1.3 with the stock. So pre-tax, I made about $1.3 million in over my working career. And then my wife made pre-tax almost 500, about $475,000 that since I met her. So when I met my wife, maybe she'll probably watch this video. When I met my wife, she had a negative net worth. And so she had a negative net worth when I met her, and we turned that around. And so over her working career, when we got married, she made over the last, 5 or so years, she made this. So our total pre-tax, we made $1.8 million in our working career up until 2022, to the end of 2022. And so if I were to average this out with about a 20% tax rate-ish, effective tax rate, give or take, we had about after tax $1.4 million. And then when I look back over the last 10 years, I probably, can guess or estimate it's about $600,000 in expenses over the last 10 years. And if I were to look at that, over the last 10 years, I probably, if I were to guess, I don't have it perfect. If I were to guess, I probably invested a total of about $800,000 into my portfolio real estate. Of my earning wages, I invested about $800,000. But what you'll notice is $800,000 is not $2 million. So where did the other $1.2 million come from? Well, that came from the growth and the capital appreciation from our real estate investing and from the equity that we have in our house today. About $650,000 came from real estate, and the other came from the appreciation in our portfolios, our retirement accounts, in a total of about $600,000, which gives us a net worth today of around, today it hasn't changed much since the end of 2022 because I'm not really working, right? So it hasn't changed much. We have a net worth of about $2.1 million today. And so really the main thing that I want you to take away from this, the main purpose of reason why I'm showing this video is you'll look at this. I invested less than 40% of our net worth today came from our W-2 income. Less than 40% came from our W-2 income. And so if you're thinking that you're just going to work, the next 10, 20 years, and then you're going to reach fire just from your W-2 income, it's really hard to do that. Unless you make a ton of money or you work for a very, very long period of time, it's very hard to reach fire with just your W-2 income, okay? And so that's the reason why I'm showing you this. Less than 40% of our net worth came from our invested wages, directly from the invested wages. The other percentage, the majority, came from the growth of what we invested and the real estate growth that we saw from investing into real estate. And that's how we were able, my wife and I, to grow our net worth from effectively zero in 2013 to over $2 million 10 years later in 2022. Okay. And so if you're the early phases of your, fire journey, you're trying to reach fire, or you're somewhere in the middle, I want you to look at this and see the reality that you're not going to through your active income, work your way to early retirement. Guys, the system isn't set up that way. If it was set up that way, everyone would be retired, okay? Everyone would live a different lifestyle than they do today. The way that taxes are set up, the way that inflation is set up, you're not going to be able to work. The average person is not going to be able to work their way to retirement. Not in America, not the way that the government is spending money and devaluing your currency. It doesn't work that way, guys. The real way that you're going to be able to retire early and live a different lifestyle is you have to be different. You have to invest your money. You have to take different steps than just clocking in at your 9 to 5 and just hoping that one day you're going to be able to grow your net worth and retire early. Everyone, I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that it is inspirational. It's not to pat myself on the back. It's really to show you, like what you're seeing on your screen you're not seeing the 10, 12-hour days on a Saturday working on my rental properties. You're not seeing the 8 hours working on my my YouTube videos, right? You're not seeing that in these numbers here. Oh, and by the way, if you might be thinking, well, Jake, you only made this much money because, you know, your YouTube money. Well, guys, I'm not Graham Stephan. I'm not Meet Kevin. I don't have a Patreon. I don't make very much money from YouTube. I actually ran the math. The money that I made in 2022 from YouTube was less than 5% than I made from my job. Less than 5%. I'll let that sink in. So if you're thinking, oh, Jake just made it from YouTube. No, guys, I'm not one of those. I'm not Graham Stephan, okay? Less than 5% of my YouTube income contributed. But anyways, guys, this has been my experience. I'm sure there's other people out there that have done much better than me, much worse than me. I'm just sharing what's worked for me and how we did it. We made a ton of mistakes, and but the days were long, but the years were short. And I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching.
Please subscribe. Please subscribe.
You know what? I think we're gonna be friends. Can everyone say hi to my friend? That's crazy. I just wanted to say thanks. I'm glad you came along, partner.